Guys, welcome to the Drop Pod. This is a thing I wanted to do for some time, but never really had any idea how to get that going in any capacity. This isn't my first rodeo, though, as back in the day of the original channel, we did a podcast with the group, with the boys, and it was, well, cringe. We posted cringe. It was a few guild members that we have not featured on this channel yet. We were sitting in some round table in Minecraft, if I recall correctly. It was with really shitty audio setups. I was in my little office room area I had back in the day with the Turtle Beach X10 strapped to my head, and it was just god-awful. The symphony of noises that were concocted from everyone that day, it still kind of keeps me up at night. But welcome to the Drop Pod. As said earlier, I'm Agis, though I'm sure you guys could have figured that one out. This show is a way I can be a little more intimate with the viewers of this channel and just kind of share my ideas and talk about things at least I find interesting enough, meaning I have absolutely zero structure to this. This is just a way for me to shoot the shit and see what my community thinks. Here's something for starters. I don't have an episode release schedule yet, so this could go up Monday, this can go up next year, in fact, or I can not bring this up and nobody will listen to this. Yet I didn't do this for my health, so this is going to get released at some point. So 10 out of 10 I'm giving myself right now anyway. I kind of wanted to talk about this for a while. Have you guys heard about this Sirenhead creature? It's like everywhere in my news feeds now. And someone messaged me the other day on Discord saying, Agis, you have to look into the Sirenhead thing. So here we are now. Gonna read you guys an excerpt, dear listeners, because I glanced over this a little bit earlier and I was already kind of rolling my eyes at this nonsense. Okay, so I attempted to view this wiki they had, I think it was yesterday before I did this recording, and the original wiki that they had for the Sirenhead creature, it was tampered with by some unknown individual. So you just went in there and raided the wiki. But somebody else did something on a different wiki and they just added it to a wiki where I guess people can't edit the wiki. I don't know how wiki works. So anyway, Sirenhead, who is sometimes called Lamphead, occasionally written as Sirenhead, that's one word, and Lamphead, one word, and more rarely Siren-head and Lamp-head. Jesus Christ. Anyway, it's a hostile cryptid and urban legend created by the artist Trevor Henderson. It is a tall, mysterious humanoid creature known for its odd appearance and the various sounds that emanate out of its head, which consists of a metallic pole with sirens attached to it. So if you can imagine that, it just looks annoying. It doesn't look very scary. It's just imagine an emaciated man. You can see skin and all, and instead of having like a head, there are just sirens. There's sirens instead of heads. Which, there you go, Sirenhead. Probably the most annoying Marvel villain to date. Might be the most annoying villain ever. Imagine somebody walking at you and just yelling. That's their power. That's their pride, their mission. I'm just somebody that's gonna run at you and scream. There's superheroes like that, I'm sure, but none that just literally run at you and just scream at the top of their lungs. The appearance of it, as I said earlier, it's literally just an emaciated figure with a siren for a head. It's such it's a weird creature. It doesn't, like these urban legends, I don't know if I'm just so disillusioned to creepypastas nowadays. I mean, I used to think they were so cool back when I was, 13. I'm pretty sure we all did. I'm pretty sure a lot of you remember, reading Slender Man for the first time. Maybe you saw Marble Hornets and you're like, man, this is the pinnacle of horror right here. Why aren't we funding stuff like this? And it's just, man, I've become so desensitized to it all. It's hard to get me to be scared of something that I just feel like it could be scary, but because I am the way I am, there's just no hope. There's no way. I felt that way going through some older games, like Resident Evil, for instance. I went through that the other day, and what used to be scary to me all of a sudden is just like, well, at least you guys tried at Capcom. I'm sure that this would have been scary back in the 1940s, but these days, I think we're okay. Sirenhead is just, I don't know, man. This creature is. This seems like something. Like we were having a contest, right? And you guys said, "Listen, I need you to draw the most annoying creature." This is what I would draw. This would take first place no matter what. Draw the most annoying creature you can come up with. It doesn't have anything going for it. It's not some thing that's built like a tank. No, it's an emaciated thing because everything that's scary has to be emaciated. It's gonna be an emaciated thing. You can see its flesh, you can see bone, but get this. No, it can't teleport to you. It doesn't do that weird Doctor Who thing where if you look away from that creature, it's just gonna randomly appear in front of you. No. Instead, there's gonna be a siren, and this creature will run at you, right? Here's the kicker. It's gonna run at you. No, it's not gonna grab you. In fact, what it's gonna do, it's gonna just yell at you. And not only is it gonna yell at you, it's gonna do some awful type of siren noise as it does it. Just to really let you know, just to humble you. And that's what's gonna win. That's what's gonna take the gold. So Sirenhead, this ain't it. But there's more to it than that. I don't know what's going on, but this creature is taking hold of a lot of my news feeds lately. And to the person that messaged me on Discord, the video I have going up, I tried. Listen, I tried. I attempted to play at least 3 games, and all of them were just, they were god awful. I'm sorry. And nothing wrong to anybody that developed those. It's just not for me. I'm gonna run down the list of games that I tried. One was a dating sim, which actually I want to leave that towards the end. I played a dating sim of the Sirenhead creature, and I tried my absolute best. I tried my damnedest, and I just couldn't. I couldn't. It hurt. It hurted. It hurt to a point where I literally just I didn't finish the games that I had planned. Like it was that bad for me. There was a game that was made in Unity that had you, for whatever reason, the guy, he's an introvert. His friends, they forced him to get out or whatever, and he gets out, he goes camping. Needless to say, his friends are very likely dead. And instead of going back the way he came, he decides, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go call for help. I'm gonna go call for help against this thing that's one, you can hear it and you can see it. And it's like, if I was ever in that situation, one, I'd be ghost. I'm sorry. I'd be gone. I would be so gone from that situation. There's no reason to be in a situation like that. There's no reason to play hero when you're against an entity that nobody has seen ever, and then all of a sudden it's just taking bodies. But I digress. The second game I played, it was Sirenhead in Russia, and it was just filled with Russian-style memes. They had this really god-awful jump scare that, it was somebody's grandmother, and you walked up to this, like, mannequin, and when you did, this jump scare would happen where you would just see somebody's grandmother, it had some horrible red filter over it. I couldn't. I played through as best as I could, but in the end, the disappointment took hold, and I was like, you know what? This is good enough. So that video will come out soon. I did play a dating sim, and it was also really bad. It was just bad. I can't really go into detail until that video comes out. It starts with you just taking a stroll in the woods somewhere for some reason, and then you see Sirenhead, and I guess you're supposed to say all the right things, because if you don't, I guess you'll die. I don't know. But man, oh man, I had to stop playing. It was like, it wasn't even that far into the game. It was like a minute, if that. You go up to the stall, you buy ice cream with the siren creature, and then the ice cream man is apparently, now I know this sounds like a like a top-notch game, but it's not me. It's not me. And I played these dating sim type things. You know, that what Doki Doki thing? And then it turned out I can't really spoil it for those of you that haven't played it. I know it's god old for those of you that have, but I know there's a few of you out there. Hell, I didn't get to it until until this year's until this year because my girl told me to play it, so I did. And I was a little surprised. I didn't think much of it. That's good. That game is good. Sirenhead, not so much. Moving on from that, I've been playing a lot of Halo recently, and more specific, a lot more Lasso. And for those of you that don't delve into Halo any, this is a challenge sort of thing where you set the game to legendary, which is the game's hardest difficulty, or at least the hardest difficulty that it offers. You can modify that difficulty even further by the inclusion of skulls, is what they're called. They're skulls, and activation of these skulls can change the gameplay in a myriad of ways. For instance, inside of Halo CE, which is Halo Combat Evolved, the very first one, there's a skull where if you kill a grunt, which is the game's like sort of fodder type enemy, the pawn, if you will, they'll explode and then they'll just obliterate everything within a 10-foot radius. And then that can get amplified if you put a skull that amplifies the explosion radii by double its amount, so the game just screws you over for merely trying to play it. But I'd love that. I like it for a myriad of reasons. It's that feeling that you get when you climb like Everest, you know? It's you climb, you do something, and you know nobody else is really going to do that, either because of the challenge or because they felt like, oh, this is something I can't or maybe I shouldn't do. And for some reason, I just kind of like that. I like the idea of, okay, I do this, and I know not many people are gonna be doing this, which is how I play a lot of games lately. I try my best to see what challenge that game offers, and if it's within the realm of possibility, I'll do it. Most of you that do watch this channel, or listen to me now, rather, you would know that I do this sort of thing on Destiny 2 all the time. I did Pit of Heresy solo, which was one of the biggest undertakings I've done in that game in a while. What else did I do? I did Shattered Throne solo as well, which is the same thing as Pit of Heresy. Both of those are dungeons for those of you that don't play Destiny 2 any. And these dungeons, they are a way to kind of get you prepared for doing a raid. And the raids in Destiny 2 have always been fun. Recently, I haven't been doing any, but I just like the idea of just doing those sort of challenges. Every action RPG I play, I always have to play on its hardcore mode, because there's just something about, and I try to explain this to my group fairly often because I do get a lot of those sort of, well, why the hell do you play on hardcore? What's the point of that? The reason is because there's a point where you play some of these RPGs and it just feels like you're on autopilot for the most of it. And I've always hated that feeling. You know, you're not, to me at least, you're not learning anything. And that's just my opinion, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't seem like you're learning all that much. There's no incentive for you to stay alive and try to learn by the game's mechanics, because if you die, it might have some sort of punishment for you, like you lose XP, maybe you lose some gold that you collected, who knows, but for me, I just like the idea of, you know, you have to worry about these things in this game. You have to know what your build is going to be. You have to understand what your build's mechanics are, because if you go in there, you don't know jack about jack, you're going to be screwed. And I've always liked that. It's always been, okay, I don't know much about this game. I'm going to put this on hardcore, and I'm just going to learn as I go along. In each death, I'll know a little bit more than I did than the previous death or the previous attempts that I've had in this game. And that, to me, it keeps the game alive for me a lot longer, because I can tell you this right now, I wouldn't be playing Diablo 3 if there was no hardcore. I probably wouldn't bother with Diablo 2 if there was no hardcore. It's these sort of modes that keep me coming back to the game, because if they didn't have them and I was just, you know, I get it that the whole point of playing an RPG is to see, you know, how powerful you're going to get towards the end, and a lot of that's going to be diminished if you die in point not seconds. But that's kind of what I like about hardcore is that you can do that. You can be punished for things that you know you shouldn't have done. Maybe you went at it too fast, but you get back on the horse and now you know a little bit more. Now you're getting a bit farther into the game and you notice this. You've been playing the game a lot longer as a result. I think I have something ridiculous like 3K hours in Path of Exile, which is a game similar to Diablo. And I have put some crazy amount of time into Path of Exile. Like this is my game when I'm not playing Dota 2 or Destiny 2. And I probably wouldn't bother playing Path of Exile if I was only playing the softcore mode. It's fun every once in a while to get out there and just kind of mess around with the sandbox before the next patch happens, for instance, and all of those things that you're messing around with are going to get changed for later. So it's kind of cool messing around with what was broken for this season, or maybe what you thought would work, but you didn't want to try it inside of hardcore, maybe because you didn't think it was hardcore viable. And when you do that, okay, now I'm going to take this build into hardcore next season, or whatever happens, the next patches to come later, I'll actually try this build out. That right there is okay, but to just stay on a softcore type of environment is just like, this is a bore fest. And I mentioned autopilot earlier. There's a point where you just kind of log on and you're just going through the motions, and I cannot stand that. I don't like turning my brain off when I'm playing a game. I know that's kind of the opposite of what a lot of people like doing in these games. You do this as like an escape from whatever, but for me, it's like I like the puzzle aspects of a lot of games. I like being able to solve a problem, and if I'm not presented with a problem, I usually don't stick around for very long. Yeah, that's that. I didn't intend to talk about that long. That was very deep, but uh, I didn't plan to have this episode very long either, guys. I kind of wanted to just do this for like 20 minutes just to kind of see how this would turn out. I just wanted to see if I could carry this as a host. I'm sure later on, once I actually get some guild members in on this, we'll see how this goes. But there is one more topic I wanted to cover while I have you, dear listeners, listening to my rambling. Recently, I covered how Denuvo, a form of anti-cheat, was going to claw its way into Doom Eternal on the channel just a few days ago, and I was pretty stunned to find out that not only did Bethesda remove it, but the fans kind of stormed on the reviews because the game was going to add this feature. I'm kind of surprised because these review bombings, they never tend to work really, from my experience at least. I think the most famous example is when that really bad Modern Warfare port came out for PC, and it didn't have dedicated servers. I remember that was one of the biggest things about this, so people just ended up boycotting the game, and the problem with that is that for all of the crap that they gave that game, they were still playing it, which I obviously that's a bad thing for your cause if you're still doing the very thing that you're like, oh, this needs to get changed. Oh, I can't do another second of this nonsense, and then you're back into it. You're back into the fray. So this was new to me because I've never really seen this sort of thing work until now. I don't think this has worked in any other way, at least not in any meaningful way. I guess I'll give Ghost Recon Breakpoint its due because a bunch of people, I don't think it was really a review bomb rather than just people going, hey man, this ain't right. And Ubisoft kind of looking at that and going, okay, well maybe we can work on this just a tad bit. There was another example. There was, what was it? It was Warcraft 3 or Warcraft Reforged. Is that what that was? There was Warcraft Reforged. This was a game that I was looking forward to for just the moment it was announced, because this was a way for a bunch of people to kind of get into a game if they've never played it. And that's how I felt with the Halo CE remaster, was that this is going to be cool for a bunch of people that never had access to a Xbox, an original Xbox. Maybe they played PlayStation during that time, or maybe they just thought that this game looked really bad, and or they're a youngin and they just never had a chance to play it. But Warcraft 3, I was hoping that was going to be exactly like Halo CE's remaster. And when that came out, everybody was so upset. Man, I was upset. I'm glad that neither myself or Peekaboo downloaded that because, man, I wouldn't be able to stomach myself knowing that that game came out in the way that it did, and I just bought into it because, oh, nostalgia said so. It's this is something that you guys have to kind of watch out for later on because I mean this can happen to any one of your, your old time classics. Imagine if Konami just one day decides not to be such a bitch and releases or remasters a game like Metal Gear Solid or even Silent Hill 1. They just bring that over to the Americas because I think the original never happened, at least not above board anyway. They remaster that and it doesn't actually meet the expectations that anybody was hoping for. And this is why I think trailers and just showing what you have in terms of gameplay is very important for especially in the AAA industry. I mean, there's so many developers in the AAA market right now, and I'm looking at Ubisoft in particular that thinks they can just get away with doing a trailer and not supporting any gameplay behind it, which that is very worrying. And I've seen this twice now. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, huge trailer. And in fact, that's where a lot of this has surfaced, where people are starting to notice that, wow, okay, these developers are getting a little slick. They don't show any gameplay. And I mean, Ubisoft has done this pretty famously. They'll do some really over the top trailer. It's probably not even in engine. It's overly edited, especially if they do a gameplay thing later down the road where they add like the voice comms and the voice comms sounds so it sounds so scripted. It's scripted all fuck and nobody knows why they chose to do that knowing how people actually talk online. But there's a lot of instances of Ubisoft just putting out a trailer, and this trailer is either just some over the top CGI sort of cutscene, and Watch Dogs had it, Assassin's Creed, a lot of the Assassin's Creeds have had it, and a non-Ubisoft example for you. This is gonna kind of surprise folks, is that Halo Infinite is also in the same boat. Though to Halo Infinite's credit is that those cutscenes are actually rendered within the engine. I forget what the engine is called. I don't want to give any wrong information. I think it was Slipspace, something. It was the Slip something engine, and it looks beautiful, but where's the gameplay? Okay, guys, so I guess that's it for now. I just did this as a pilot. I wanted to make a good impression. This is kind of what I just have as a base. If anybody has any sort of tips, and if you have any questions for me, please leave them down below in the description. Down below in the YouTube video where this first episode will be, because that's the only place I'm actually going to check, or unless you message me on Discord. I'm always around. Basically anywhere where you can reach me, do it there. And I might read it for the next episode if I get any correspondence. Anyway, until next time, thank you for listening.